Yeah, a bunch of names that we recognize from last week.
Corinne Kessel delivered a giant cactus to a marijuana shop. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
They love their boho chic, kind of deserty decor, don't they, Corinne? Corinne Kessel, one of our ILEA International Board of Governors, and freshly announced ILEA International President-elect.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
What else we got in here today? New Orleans. Our friend Bev from Calgary. Hi, Bev.
Hey, Bev.
Friends from Edmonton here. Awesome. A couple more people coming in, but we got lots to do. So why don't we kick this off?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. Thanks to everyone for being here. As Dustin said, drop us a line in the chat box. Let us know where you're from. And also tell us one awesome, positive thing that happened this week. It can be anything under the sun. For me, it was that the sun came out in Calgary. Certainly feels good to go for a walk around the block and feel that bright, beautiful sunshine. So welcome back to Clear Head, Strong Mind, our weekly mindset, mindfulness, mental strength series. We're delighted to have you here. My name is Lisa Marks. I am one of your ILEA International Board of Governors. I'm joined today by a couple other Board of Governors as well. Corinne Kessel, CSCP, who I mentioned earlier, ILEA International President-elect, and Dustin Wessling, also from Calgary, ILEA International Board of Governors, freshly announced ILEA International Secretary Treasurer on the Executive Committee. I'm gonna have to write that title down for next time. As well as Tui Deep from CSCP, pardon me, from ILEA LA chapter, who's on our COVID management team. Angela Braun back with to help us lead this conversation, our series facilitator. So we'll introduce Angela again in a second. But thank you so much for being here. I hope you get as much out of these conversations and sessions as I certainly do. I always, every week, I go into the weekend with just a bit more energy and I feel a lot lighter. So I want to take a moment to thank all of you for being here and for being a part of this. Otherwise, if you weren't here, it would be the four of us sitting around talking to each other about mental health. So we really appreciate you coming back, and we do this for you. So send us a note if ever there's something you want us to touch on that we haven't covered yet. Clear Head, Strong Mind was born out of a conversation we had about 6 weeks ago now about what is it that we as humans are going through. COVID and the pandemic and the economic downturn and all the changes we've been through have impacted our businesses, our families, the way we work, the jobs that we have, the clients that we have access to. And so there's all this sort of like business health side of things. We really wanted to create an opportunity for us to just come together as humans, regardless of what role we hold in the industry or where we live. We wanted to give you an opportunity to have a place to come and end your week feeling a bit stronger and maybe a bit more optimistic. You don't have to come and just give us all this positivity. You can show up exactly how you're feeling. All we ask is that you come with an open mind, and that's it. Just be here with us and be present. So today I'm delighted to welcome back. We are going to have a conversation with Angela about the negativity bias and the negativity committee in our heads. And Angela's got some really interesting and I think useful information about the way that we are wired. And we'll also talk about some ways to sort of reframe that conversation that's going on inside of our heads. But before we get to that, we'd like to welcome back, we are going to welcome back Mike, who was with us last week. So I'll introduce Mike in a second. But I think in order to get centered and to really let go of the week, whatever you've been working through, we'd like to invite you to come be a part of a couple of minutes of meditation and getting centered. So it's my pleasure to welcome back our ILEA longtime friend, Carol Dunsmore. So Carol, if you've been on the call before, you've certainly experienced Carol's guided meditation before, but Carol joins us from the ILEA Arizona chapter, is also a board member of HSMAI, is the owner and principal planner at The Next Great Event. And also in 2017, Carol decided to pursue her career in becoming a certified yoga instructor, completed her 200-hour yoga teacher training at the Spirit of Yoga in Tempe, Arizona. And Carol, we're delighted to have you back. It's an honor to have you here. Please take it away and bring our energy back down to earth.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. What I have for you today is an abbreviated version of the loving kindness meditation. And if you're familiar with this meditation, it's typically about 15 minutes long and recommended that you do it at least once a day. But I have shortened it for the purpose of this exercise. But just hit me up in the chat box if you're interested. I can send you a link to a full 15-minute version, the version that I use to kind of build this version for. So if it's comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes. Sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor and your spine straight. Relax your whole body. Keep your eyes closed and bring your awareness inward. Without straining or concentrating, just relax. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Keeping your eyes closed, think of a person close to you. It could be someone from the past or the present, someone who's still in your life or someone who's passed. Imagine that person is standing on your right side, sending you their good vibes. That person is sending you wishes for your safety, your well-being, and your happiness. Feel the warm wishes coming from that person towards you. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now bring to mind either the same person or another person who's close to you. And this time imagine them standing on your left side, sending you wishes for your safety, your well-being, and your happiness. Feel the warm wishes coming from that person towards you. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now imagine that you're surrounded on all sides by all the people who care about you. Picture all of your friends and loved ones surrounding you. They are sending you wishes for your safety, your well-being, and your happiness. Feel the warm wishes coming from all sides. You are filled and overflowing with good vibes. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now bring your awareness to the person standing on your right side. This time, begin to send your good vibes back to that person. Repeat non-verbally to yourself. May you live with ease. May you be happy. May you be free from pain. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now bring your awareness back to the person standing on your left side. Begin to send your good vibes back to that person. Repeat non-verbally to yourself. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease and happiness. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now expand your awareness and picture the whole world in front of you as a little ball. Send your warm wishes to all living beings around the world, repeating non-verbally to yourself. May you live with ease, happiness, and good health. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And another deep breath in and let it all go. Notice the state of your mind and how you feel after this meditation. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Wow, if Ilea could have a official meditation or get centered, poem, it would be that, wouldn't it? It's like the greatest part of this association and this industry is communities just like this. So Carol, thank you for that. Always lovely to see you here with us. So it's my pleasure to welcome back to this conversation our guest speaker from last week, Mike Dew. Mike is the founder of Revive Lifestyle Fitness in Canada and joined us last week to lead us through a conversation about movement and how to optimize our stress. We've certainly been through an enormous amount of change and enormous amount of maybe some chaos in your life in the last 6 weeks. So Mike's conversation really was so useful to us as we continue to navigate this as human beings. So Mike, welcome back. And we look forward to hearing some wrap up comments from you today. So over to you. We've got you. Oh, there you are. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa and Carol, for that great meditation. That felt awesome. Love that. Love that. So yes, if you, some of you joined in last week, I talked about a concept called HRV, heart rate variability, and how to use it to optimize your stress. And talking about the fact that stress isn't all bad. It's, you know, it can be good or bad, but learning how to optimize it is the key. Now, I do want to ask first of all, did anyone try to take their heart rate in the morning? Now, of course, you can use a heart rate monitor to do this, but did anyone actually take their heart rate in the morning, the resting heart rate, and see if it changed through the day? Did anybody in the group do that? If you want to leave a little note, I'm just totally curious if you did. No one so far. Well, I'll talk a little bit about it. So if you did, first of all, what heart rate variability is the variability between each heartbeat. And basically right now, it used to be used as a way measuring tool for athletes to predict if they're over or under training. Nowadays, it's used a lot more for the general public. If you might have heard of Whoop before, that's one app that measures this. That basically measures your general state of stress and health. So, oh, great, Diane, you take it every day. Perfect. So heart rate is a great measure. It will tell you about how activated your nervous system is, if you're too much into a stress state or a relaxed state. And so interesting enough, I have a hard time personally with meditation, or I used to, when I tried to start about 5 years ago, because for me, I'm a guy who's driven by data and numbers. So, you know, meditation is so beneficial, but it takes a while for you to really feel the benefits. So it was hard. And I just want to show you what I did. While Carol was doing her meditation, I actually had my heart rate on, okay? And I took, sorry guys, and I took my heart rate and my variability. So for some of you who are more data driven, if you guys can see that, you can see that red squiggly line there. That's my heart rate. Thank you. So if you can see that red squiggly line, and you see how as it goes on, as I meditate more, it starts to drop and it starts to get more squiggly. So that's actually the sign my heart rate's lowering. And the other one, the pink line, is my heart rate variability. And that, as you see, slowly starts to go up as I do more meditation. So heart rate dropping is a good sign. It means your body is more able to relax. Heart rate variability, that pink line going up, shows you again that your body is in a more relaxed state, and that your parasympathetic nervous system, so your relaxed side of your nervous system, is being activated. And that's what helps you relieve stress when you're under a lot of it, right? So for those of you who like data, I just want to show you how that works. Also, as I was kind of talking with you last week, I know I only got a couple minutes here, but this week for me, and maybe some of you, has been super stressful because it's the end of the month, you know, there's bills to be paid. So some of you might have been feeling that. And again, it's hard to be aware of this stress. Like, how do we actually know? Are we a 5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 in terms of how stressed we are? So what this app actually does, and it's a free app, it's called Elite HRV. It actually helps you measure your stress. So if you look at that yellow line there, that was me on Wednesday. It was low. The yellow line means that I was under a lot of stress. I was aware of that stress. And then the two lines right next to it, right there, was a sign, was me being in a more ready or optimal state. So what I did since Wednesday of seeing this high stress rating was I exercised more, I slept better, I focused on my sleep, and I did more meditation. And it helped me get into what's called a more optimal state. Whereas too long in these yellow or red zones is detrimental. That's where it's kind of harmful for your health and your stress. So for those of you who are more numbers or data driven, that's what I talked about, how to measure it. I'm actually doing a 21-day HRV, heart rate variability challenge, starting on May 11th. So Great, thank you. And yeah, so if you're measuring that, it's great. My heart rate was like 110 before I started, because as some of you are, you get nervous during public speaking and you're stressed. And now I'm down to about like 90. So again, it's just being awareness of your body and your health. If you're interested, I'm just doing this for 20 people. It can be done remotely. The link's right there. Thank you for putting it on, Lisa. And thank you guys for your time, having me in. Hope you guys have a great week. It's May, it's a new month. Let's go after it, guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. What interesting data, and like what a wonderful reminder. Sometimes, you know, we know, like we understand that, like, for example, exercise is going to ultimately make us feel better. We also now probably intuitively know things like meditation and guided breathing are going to calm us down, but so great to see some data and proof, and that there's a tool out there to really remind ourselves and be able to measure that. So thank you. I dropped your, as you saw, I dropped your challenge link in the chat. So anyone that's interested, check it out, hit Mike up. We know Mike is truly a community partner. He'll respond to your emails directly, I'm sure. And, you know, when we logged onto this call about 10 minutes before, Mike was like, sorry guys, just finished a workout. So he's truly like, so exactly who he says he is. And so we know that that challenge will be an interesting one. So Mike, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you again.
Awesome. So why don't we carry forward, guys? It's my pleasure to welcome back Angela Braun, our series facilitator here for Clear Head, Strong Mind. So Angela has decades of corporate experience on the large brand side, and has been working tirelessly with business owners now since starting her international coaching practice, Angela Nicole Coaching. Angela specializes in working with creative visionaries on personal performance and team enhancement as a performance and leadership coach. Angela's a longtime friend of ILEA's. It's our honor and pleasure to have you here. So Angela, over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everyone. It's funny that you say a long time, or perhaps maybe not a member of ILEA, but, you know, having been with the ILEA community for so long, I got to tell you, I actually love coming and hanging out with you guys on Fridays, because it actually feels like home to me. So I want to thank you guys for letting me to come and hang out with you. Also, thanks, Mike. That was a fantastic presentation last week. I wanted to share with you, though, although I did not do the heart rate challenge, I definitely took some of your learnings into my routine. So thank you for a wonderful presentation last week. And of course, to Carol, who just makes everybody feel centered before we get into our powerful conversations. So happy Friday, everyone. Happy May 1st. I hope the weather is nice where you are. I'm in Alberta, Canada. It's starting to turn to a little bit nicer weather here. So I hope we all get the opportunity to be outside and hang out with our loved ones and get some fresh air. Today, we're actually going to talk about the negativity committee in your head, what it is and how to shut it down. And you're probably wondering why it is that we're having that conversation today. Like, why 5 weeks are we starting to talk about this? And what I would suggest to you is that, you know, as we've progressed through ILEA, Clear Head, Strong Mind, what we've been talking about is a lot of how to shift mindset in order to be able to honor and take care of our well-being, so that we have the opportunity to move into recovery when it happens, not if, in a powerful place, and not a place of exhaustion and, you know, just overall not having the energy to be able to give it everything that we've got. And so the reason why we wanted to talk about, you know, the negativity committee, or what we call the negativity bias, is because we know over the last 6 to 8 weeks, you know, we're up and we're down, right? I mean, things have changed so tremendously over a period of time that I think it's important that we kind of step in and honor what we've learned and really ground into those learnings so that we can actually put it into practice and move forward. So we thought, let's kind of go back and, you know, make sure that we cover this as well as we continue down the path of recovery during the pandemic. So the question is what is the negativity bias, and is it a real thing? I'm actually going to start out by asking you guys a few questions. You do not have to put up your hand publicly if you don't want to. That's totally okay. I'll invite you to do whatever feels good for you, but it will be interesting to see how many of you actually do experience some of these things. So the first question I have for you, and I want you to think about this holistically. So this is like a holistic thing versus maybe necessarily what's been occurring over the last, you know, 8 weeks, though I suspect that's probably still heavily on your mind, of course. But have you ever found yourself dwelling on an insult or fixating on a perceived mistake that you made? Right? Do you remember traumatic experiences more than you remember positive experiences? Do you recall insults better than you recall praise? Do you think about negative things more frequently than you think about positive ones? Right? Do you think negative news is more truthful? So here's the thing, and this is what I want to share with you, is that negative events have a greater impact on our brains than positive ones do. This is the negativity bias, and it can be really powerful because it can actually change and like the way that we show up in our relationships, the way that we make decisions, and basically how we move forward in the world. So the question is, why does this happen? And the reality is it's actually science. And so I'm seeing, sorry, I want to make sure that I'm capturing all of this. So I see a lot of no's in the chat box, and that's okay. If you don't actually, if this doesn't relate to you in every way, that's totally okay. I just wanted to give you a background to say that if you do focus on some of these things, there's a reason behind it, and we're actually going to go ahead and explore that a little bit further. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just more of a check-in with each other. So if people do experience this, we're actually going to allow that to be okay. And so basically, you know, why does this happen? And the reason why it happens is that it actually, believe it or not, we're hardwired to do it. And so what it is that we have, you know, the amygdala part of the brain that looks for basically fight or flight. And so its entire, you know, meaning behind that part of the brain is survival. And so when we do see something negative or we hear of something negative, then basically that part of the brain is like tunnel vision, laser-like focus, survival, survival, survival. We must be able to get over this, past this, protect ourselves from this. And so the negativity bias, as you know, per psychologists, is a real thing. And it's something that happens to every single person on the planet in some capacity. It's just simply part of humanity. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I want you guys to know that when that happens, it's normal and it's okay, but there are also ways in which we can actually move past it. So we're going to talk a little bit about how, when we're in that negative space, how we can actually move from that space beyond into a place of either neutrality or positivity. And so the first thing that we want to kind of take a look at is self-awareness. So who here caught Irene Pace's conversation about 2 weeks ago on emotional eating? Awesome. So a lot of you did. I did too. I thought it was amazing. And what Irene talked about was emotional eating and how when we're about to make an eating decision, sometimes we're actually just trying to change our emotions, and it might not be based on hunger at all. And in that moment, we need to stop and be aware of what it is that we're trying to achieve before we make that decision. And that can be really powerful. So I think what you're probably hearing in a lot of these calls as we move forward is that we talk a lot about awareness. The thing is with awareness is when we garner awareness, that is what allows a mindset shift, which then can create change. And that's one of the reasons why awareness is so important. And so when we're talking about awareness and the scope of this, I want you to know that awareness is half the battle. And once we get to the awareness, honestly, if you can get to the awareness stage, you've kind of already won the game. And so when we look at the negativity bias, that's the first thing that I want you to recognize is, hey, I'm angry, I'm pissed off, I'm upset, somebody said something I didn't like, I did a presentation, I got negative feedback, somebody made a comment in passing, I heard the news, it's the apocalypse or whatever the case is. And I want you to recognize that if you're feeling that way, that actually is part of the negativity bias. It's coming from the brain. It's totally normal. I get it. I understand it. It's science. It's just part of my brain. Okay. That in itself is the biggest win. And if that's the biggest thing that you take out of this entire conversation today, I'm totally down with that. The second thing that I want you to think about is how to reframe the situation. And so often when something happens, again, it could be criticism, could be, you know, a negative comment, could be negative news, could be a negative feeling, etc. One of the things that I want you to do when you recognize that, hey, this might be the negativity bias, this is something that's coming up from my brain to signal danger, or I need to pay attention to this, I want you to ask yourself, what about this is bothering me? Like, what about this is getting in my way, and why? And with that state, it can actually start to shift. Okay, like, what is being brought up for me in this moment? And then the second thing I want you to do is think about, well, what could I actually change about this? Could I go back and change the past? Could I change the outcome? Chances are you can't. So in that moment, what might you do differently? Or what could you potentially do to rectify the situation? And the reason why I'm asking you to do that is because I want you to be aware of it. I want you to look at it through a different lens. And then I want you to figure out how you can move forward into that. And sometimes, believe it or not, criticisms or some of that negativity can actually be really powerful because it gives you a beautiful opportunity to learn from it. The third thing I want to talk to you about is establishing new patterns. And so in that, I'll tell you guys a story. You know, I used to be an event producer as well. And I remember when I would do, you know, the big corporate Christmas parties, and they would take, you know, months, right, to do. And the night after the party, I would always stay at the hotel. And I would literally, I couldn't sleep that night. It would take me like days to get past all of the mistakes that I felt that I had made or the things that had gone wrong. You know, and that was probably about 10 years ago now. And I look back on it now and I'm like, man, I wish I actually knew about this. I wouldn't have spent as much time like, you know, rolling in all of this that maybe wasn't necessarily, well, straight up necessary at that time. But I was so focused on all of the mistakes versus all of the really great things that had happened. And so one of the things that I ask you to do is really take a look at how you can reestablish patterns. So when you have something that hits you from a negative space, you recognize it, you address it, you think about what you could potentially change from it, then how do you shift that into something that feels good for you? Or can you do that? And what might that look like? And the thing is, it doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be listening to your favorite song, going for a walk, calling a friend, or what have you. But over time, we know that consistency creates momentum, creates continuity, you know, and commitment and so forth and so on. So I just want you to anchor into, okay, something negative happened, I've recognized it. Now I can stay and stew in this, or I can maybe take a look at shifting my behavior into something that feels a little bit better for me in the moment. Because my question to you is, would it be so bad if you did something that felt a little bit positive? Like, would that be a horrible thing to happen? Or in that moment of feeling positive, you know, I'm not sure what harm can come out of that except for your own emotional well-being becoming stronger and better, right? Another thing I want to talk to you about is celebration. Now, I want to be super clear. Like, I recognize that my talking about celebration right now might be a bit tone deaf. So I want to be clear, I recognize that. But I also want you to know that the conversations that we're having right now are not necessarily COVID related. They're also meant to be things that we learn, that we take through life beyond this as well. And so what I know about high achievers, and I suspect that every single one of you on this call are high achievers, is that we typically don't take the time to celebrate successes. And when you're a high achiever, you hit the goal and you move on to the next goal. It's super common, right? And so being in the event industry, it's kind of like, we kind of celebrate, like that's sort of what we do with our clients, is we create celebrations and magical moments. And then when we're with teams, obviously we want to take care of our teams and we want to celebrate their successes too. So what I want to suggest to you is that we also want to celebrate ourselves, and creating the time and space when that feels comfortable for you. That might not be right now, and that's okay. But I do want you to consider what that's going to look like in the future. Because what we know is that when we take the moments to move into positive and celebrate the things that went well, that actually is a counterbalance to the negativity bias. And believe it or not, it can sometimes take 3 to 4 times the amount of positivity to counterbalance the negative, which is why it's actually super, super important, because it will get you to a neutral state. And then the last thing I want to share with you is really around support systems. And, you know, at this time, or really any time that we're in a not great space, be it today, be it in a year from now, or what have you, it's really important to find people that you can count on. And when we look at support systems, I mean, they could come through a multitude of things, right? So they can be friends, they can be family, they can be colleagues, they can be an industry like we're finding with today. And so where are you going to find those support systems? And the one thing I want to point out to you too is that two things come up with that. And the first one is you're going to have people in your life, you know, that are sort of those positive, optimistic type people. And you're also going to have those people that are truth tellers. Now, I want you to know both are equally important. One isn't better than the other. But I also want you to recognize who it is that you need in that moment and why it's important to recognize that. As it relates to community, and it's really interesting because we're all in this community, and I was saying to Lisa earlier, it's kind of funny, it feels like home to me, and so I love being here with all of you guys, is I kind of take a look around at, you know, all of the people that are on this call right now, and obviously you're all like-minded individuals or you wouldn't be here, right? And so when you come to a place like community like you are right now, I actually ask you to take a look at the things like the chat box. And if you're seeing, you know, somebody on that chat box that is saying something that is meaningful to you, that speaks to you in some way, maybe you haven't met them before. What about maybe reaching out to them, sending them an email? What we know right now is that the whole world is going through this together. This is not a localized situation. And what I'm hearing, and I'm sure you guys are hearing this too, is the reconnections that are happening are pretty phenomenal. I've been talking to people who are like, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a really long time, or I've made this really cool connection. Now I'm like hanging out with this person, you know, on a regular basis. It feels really good, or what have you. Has anyone else sort of experienced that? You've really reconnected with people that you haven't talked to in a while, or you've made some new connections over this time? Anyone? Yeah, right? And so what we know is that people are, I don't know, there's like sort of this, this really beautiful authenticity that's occurring in the world right now. And so people are really open to having conversations. It's a beautiful time to build relationships right now. And so when you take a look at the community around you, yeah, right? Kids, right? Talking to your family a lot more than you used to, like the family chats, right? I mean, how often did that happen before? So I think it's, you know, what I say to you is that regardless of whether it's outside of this community or in this community, take a look around and see who it is that you would like to connect with. And I would encourage you to go out and reach out and connect with them, because what we're finding is that people are much more open to that right now. And then also I think too, you know, as it relates to community, is that we are going through all of this together at the same time, but there might be some people who have experienced something a little bit differently than you have. And, you know, as we take a look at rolling this kind of back into what this negativity bias is, you know, we often really will beat ourselves up over the mistakes that we make. And we know that it's common to do that. But what if you know, have a chance to talk to somebody who might have experienced what you would like to maybe try, and you could learn from their mistakes or garner some really powerful information from them. So I would encourage you to really think about that and how you engage with your community as well. And then also just really like tapping into the inspiration, the motivation. I personally get really lit up when I get to come and hang out with all of you guys. It's actually, you know, well, first of all, it's probably one of the only times I put on hair and makeup is on Friday at 2 o'clock, straight up, I'm being honest. But also, I just love really seeing all of your faces, and I love all the positivity from all of you guys and all the wonderful things that you share. I learn from it too. I learn from our guest speakers. I learn from all of you. And I think that you all learn from each other. And so I wanted to keep this conversation a little bit shorter today, you know, than we normally do. Because I don't really want to spend a ton of time on negativity. That's not really the purpose of all of these calls. But what I wanted to do is make sure that we were in a space that we recognized that the negativity bias, it's a real thing. It's actually a part of our brain makeup. And if you experience that, that's okay, it's normal. But let's not stay in that place for longer than we need to. And then how do we shift out of that? And I believe it's really about the awareness piece. I think it's about the reframe. I think it's about creating new patterns. And I think it's about looking towards celebration when we can and really anchoring into the support systems that are really meaningful and important to us. So that actually is it for me. Short and sweet today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ange. If you're still sticking around, Ange, until the end, you guys, we'll just have a couple more minutes of a conversation here and then we'll wrap up shortly. Got a little treat at the end. We don't have Jen Beaupre here singing this week, but we got something else to end the session. So just hang in with us for a couple more minutes. But so Ange, so thank you for that. You often, as such a wonderful coach, you really often start us out at the place of awareness, because without an understanding of what's going on and an awareness of what we're thinking about and how we're maybe reacting to things, it's not likely as possible to create change, right? And to kind of move forward. So I thought, one of the most interesting points that you made for me was about how it actually takes double, triple, whatever, more positivity or optimism to shift your mindset than it does negativity. Like a drop of negativity can swing us so far this way, but it takes, a pound of positivity to really actually make a change in terms of what you're thinking about and what's going on in your body and in your reactions. So I think there's something really powerful in understanding the science behind that, so that as we come up against next week's challenges in our businesses or in our roles or whatever it is, we can really come back to, okay, there's some work to be done. We have to do a little bit of work to kind of get over the negativity and move into a space of optimism. And I think that's like understanding that's a thing we should be aware of is really helpful.
Yeah, no, and I think that is actually, I think the point that we're trying to make is that it exists. We don't have to make it wrong, but there is, every piece of negative news, for example, needs 5 pieces of positive news to neutralize.
Yeah,
and
what a great point.
When we look at that, I guess that's a question I would throw out to the community as a whole, is when you take a look at that and knowing that we need even to move into neutrality is such a great place. I sort of feel like this group here is such a positive group. I mean, they're so inspirational, so many wonderful messages that come out. And so my question to all of you guys is, what kinds of things do you do, within your life to, I guess, move the needle or change the barometer to be able to move into a positive space? What feels good for you, and what might you want to share with the group? Because I think we all really learn from each other and really get inspired from each other. I'd love to know if anybody's willing to share.
Just music, it's a great one. That absolutely. Step away from your desk and turn music on through your Sonos or whatever system you have at home and spend 5 minutes doing nothing but listening to music. That's a great one. Taking the weekend off. What an awesome opportunity to shift. Now more than ever, the work or the things we are thinking about are so intense, right? So to allow yourself the weekend to come out of that.
Oh, Courtney, that's so lovely.
Yeah, Deb, great point about allowing some silence. There's a lot coming at us in terms of news and noise. So that's a great one. And you made a point earlier about there is absolutely a feeling that we're going through this together. I mean, there's no one person on the planet that isn't in some way impacted by this. I think that is and Ange, I'm not sure if you agree, but I think that is like truly a unique thing that this world is going through that hasn't ever gone through. And, the Spanish flu impacted people around the world, but not in this way, with how much connectivity and, connection that we all have to news and information. It's truly a unique time.
It's a unique time. And again, I recognize that the pandemic is obviously, it's impacted a lot of people in a lot of negative ways too. But I also think there is a great opportunity in the way that we all relate to each other that I think is really different and might not be as different right now if it hadn't occurred. And I do think the relationships that we're creating with our kids, with our families, the family chats, Mother Nature, the friendships that we're making, the relationships that we're building are really powerful and positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anybody out there who's just had a really cool, new friendship or relationship, partnership, or really positive insight with their support systems, be it friends, family, colleagues, industry, etc., that's been really meaningful to you? Neighbors. How often do we do that, right? That's amazing.
Nice. Some opportunity for mentorship. What a great way to remind yourself of how much wonderful talent and skill and knowledge you have in a time when maybe our practices are paused. So that's a great use of time. I see online courses. Tui mentioned a couple of great courses there. Awesome. Well, let's continue to let some of these amazing and optimistic ideas come in. Take note, get your notebook and write a couple ideas down, or on your tack board, or get a sticky note. And sometime next week, we invite you to try something that is, you know, falls under the header of something positive or optimistic you're going to do for yourself to really allow you to swing towards that mental state. Awesome. Ange, any final thoughts before we flip over to our closing slides?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think, you know, I'm really moved by all of the things in the chat box. And I think that would be, if that's cool with you, Lisa, one of the things that it's interesting hearing, you know, some of these really cool comments that are coming out, you know, within the chat box. So I guess the last thing that I would leave you with is, you know, what about this time right now are you going to take forward with you in the future? And we're talking a lot about support systems and moving to a positive space. What would you want to keep with you that you've learned during this time? Like I'm seeing, I want to hang out with my neighbors still. I want to go for walks. What other things might be of value to you that you want to hang on to? Oh, empathy.
Yeah, connection. Not overschedule. It's a great point.
Yeah, patient.
Yeah.
Cooking great meals. Honestly, Courtney, like I still have yet to learn that in life. So good for you. I'm the Nutella girl.
Game night. I recently learned about virtual code names. If anyone's a code names fan, you can now play it online with your friends over Zoom. So hit me up if anyone's curious about that. Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Angela, thank you so much. As always, we're so lucky to have you in this community, and you know, for all of us to receive weekly coaching through you on these important topics. We're just so lucky. I mean, that's not anything for us to take lightly. So thank you so much, and we look forward to the next session. So Tui, why don't we throw up our closing slides here? Hang on till the end, guys. We're just going to wrap with something really lighthearted for all of you. So we'll go ahead a couple slides here too. We wanted to as always, remind anyone here on this call that may quietly be needing some additional support or resources. On the next slide, we've got resources listed for regional mental health organizations that are there to support all humans around the world. So if there's something you need that you're just not getting, or you know, you feel the need to talk to somebody about anything specific that you're thinking about, we encourage you to reach out. As always, these resources are also on our website. You can find them anytime you need them. Awesome. Thanks, Tui. So next week, we've got a really exciting opportunity to sit for an hour on a Zoom meeting just like this. So very little slides, very conversational. We are hanging out with Steve Kemble, CSEP, former ILEA International President. He is guiding us through a brainstorm about the future of events from the perspective of, as business owners, as event producers, whether you're an employee that's inside of an event business or you're an in-house planner at a corporation, what are some of the major considerations that we need to start preparing for as we look to recovery and reopening. So this is actually a great one if you also joined us for the grand reopening with our friends from the Event Safety Alliance. This will be a nice complementary conversation so that we all really have a well-rounded look at what's coming at us in the future. So please, please, please join this. This one is very much for all of us, in that the bigger the list and the more accurate list that we create together, and we will turn this into something that looks like a white paper so we can all use it, the better off we are all going to be in this industry when we start heading towards recovery. So please join us. Check out ileahub.com COVID resources page to register. Please do re-register or pre-register. This is going to be an awesome one on Tuesday.
Lisa, can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
There is a limit for these webinars. So if you hear our voice right now, I will drop the link in the chat. Please go register now, because once it's capped out, it's capped out. So I'll drop the link in now, and do it right this second after we're done this.
Awesome. Thanks, Dustin. I registered already, so you're welcome to say that. So yeah, next week Friday, we'll also have a conversation similar to this. And so stay tuned next week for in your inbox information about how we'll spend time together next week Friday in this same bat time, same bat channel. So before we go to some closing remarks here from our amazing ILEA community, I want to say first and foremost, once again, thank you to Angela for being here with us. Tui, thank you so much for getting us through this smoothly. I want to thank Mike, who's already dropped off, but Mike, if you're in the ether and you can hear us, we thank you for coming back. And to Carol, as always, for bringing us your beautiful sentiments to kick us off. And to all of you, honestly, this community is like none other. There's a lot of conversations online about how this community is so deeply connected and so interested in staying so connected in such a time where we're just faced with so much unprecedented challenge. So we, on behalf of the Board of Governors, want to thank all of you for everything you're doing in your cities, in your regions, in your communities to keep the conversation alive about the creative events profession and about our industry. ILEA thanks you, and we thought, we'd love to just show you how a few of our members have chosen to stay connected over the last handful of weeks. So Tui, roll video. We'll just ask you to take yourself off mute there.
All of you virtually. This is such an incredible ILEA community, sending you all so much ILEA love. We are ILEA strong.
We are ILEA strong.
We are ILEA strong.
We are ILEA strong.
Should I take my virtual background off? I just wanted to say how incredible our community has been in spite of all of this craziness, and how wonderful it's been to connect with all of you worldwide.
We are ILEA strong. We are ILEA strong.
Yeah, it might be a little while before we're together, but we'll get there.
We are ILEA strong.
Thanks to ILEA, I found my community and I found my people, and I'm really grateful for that. We are ILEA strong.
We are ILEA strong.
I wear this ILEA lanyard every day at work to remind me of the amazing times I always have when I meet ILEA members across the world.
I just want to say I'm so excited that I get to stay connected with all of my event professional friends with things such as virtual meetings.
Push your lid up.
And now more than ever, I crave a connection with my ILEA family.
We are ILEA strong.
We are ILEA strong. We need each other more now than ever. So stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you real soon.
I mean, there's just no other way to end it, right? Wash your hands, stay connected, stay strong, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And we will see you all very, very soon. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Angela. Thanks, Tui. That's it, guys. See you on the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Tui, you can hit the end meeting now. Just leave meeting in the corner, Tui, bottom corner.